So now it's streaming blackness. Something.
Okay, so now how do I share this?
So it should be live, right?
Yeah, but I need a link. I'm going to put it on Twitter.
Oh, right. Can you tweet it straight from there? Like a sharing button or something? Down below, maybe? There's a basic info there. Sorry, right here. I clicked away. It's public.
Okay, so we're almost there.
Why is there no option for tweeting it out or something? Or, Google Plusing it. Careful, dude.
Is this it?
No, that's not it. You just navigate there on your YouTube account. Or go over to like a YouTube screen somewhere. And just refresh. What is this? Oh, yeah.
June 7th?
Live stream. Oh, is that what you already pressed there because this is your account? How does this not have easy options? Oh, it's right there, dude.
Command F is
there's a
always
giant tile down there at the bottom with every single option. You could tweet it from there too.
awesome. Rock and roll. What? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to get started in a minute. Live dashboard. Maybe. Health. Is it streaming? What's up? Oh no, dude, this is way old. Well, maybe it's streaming, maybe it's not.
It looks like it's coming from your built-in camera. Interface.
No, that's just hung on like 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
It says it gave me a notification that DevOps KC is live.
We'll check it out and see if it is.
Right.
And then we'll get started because I'm just taking it long.
Okay.
Yeah, do this.
It says it gave me a notification that DevOps KC is live. We'll check it out. A little slow though.
Hold it in front of the camera.
So they can loop that on the customer.
That's their 7-second delay so they can dump everything.
So some of these Ignite.
It's not going to be enough.
I was going to bring. I didn't. I'm going to bring Ignite Karaoke.
Yeah, I carry it.
That's where you got up there and someone else made the slides and you have to talk.
Oh, so there's no.
Oh, is it someone else?
And there'll be like a picture of a donkey.
Okay.
and
I like it.
Then like a computing architecture diagram and then like a giraffe.
I thought the person who submitted it.
That's normal. But I wanted
all
to
my karaoke.
stick in the karaoke.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I was really excited for that.
Well, we can throw it together real quick.
PowerPoint karaoke. They can lie about something you have no idea.
I think each.
Yeah,
slide
so
has
the Ignite
like
Talks tonight,
one
there's
sentence.
another format where you don't get to make the slides, you just have to talk about them. Yeah, and you get the same timer. Like every 20 seconds, it's going to advance.
It's called Pejacucha.
Yes. Those usually rehearse. This is random. This is where like you don't know the
I
slides.
think that's usually like the person who's presenting it. They know about it. It's more like regular.
Who's here?
Then we're going to get started with Ignite. Then we're going to do open space.
Is this a big
We have
Is this
a
one
mic.
open?
I'm just gonna sit
Sure.
for now.
So first off, we're going to do announcements. I think the biggest announcement we have is we have DevOps Days Kansas City starting. It's actually tickets are on sale now. We're going to reveal the schedule hopefully like today or tomorrow. So that's awesome. And the tickets are on sale now, so please buy them up and come out. It's completely affordable, and it's a 2-day conference, and it'll have both open spaces like we're going to do tonight, and it will have a whole bunch of speakers coming in from out of town and a bunch of local speakers. So it's going to be super awesome. Does anybody else have other announcements that they want to make? As always, follow us on Google Plus, Twitter, things like that. Does anybody have anything? Think about it. Raise your hand if you do. I'm going to have Dan explain how we're going to do open spaces here in a minute.
Are we hiring it all?
Okay, so I wrote a document, put it out on the Slack, DevOps KC Slack, about how we would do this, so I wouldn't have to remember it, but now I don't have it. So we're going to, so if you wrote something up there, a topic that you'd like to discuss tonight, if you can put your name next to it, so the people who have the ideas, put your name next to it, and then we'll have a leader, someone to start the conversation.
There's more if you need to.
The reason why we would do that is because that's the person that is interested in it and brought it up and was interested enough that they wrote it on board. But you don't have to, you know, it's not going to be like a command and control thing where you control the conversation. For other people talking about it? Yeah. And then you can just put a +1 if you want to talk about it as well. We'll probably have 3 or 4 topics, hopefully, to spread out to. And after the Ignites, we will go ahead and, if these are related, if we get more of them, they're related, then we'll probably combine some of those. And then everybody will go off, we'll pick spaces, the leaders will go into those spaces, and then you can join whatever you want. So if a group ends up with, you know, 1 person, then that's fine. That person will then be the note taker. So every group will have a note taker, and when we're all done, we'll come back here and we'll write up the main takeaways for each group. Yes?
How are open spaces different than first?
Basically the same thing.
Different trademark.
Yeah. The team. Any other questions?
I think there's one thing. Their numbers are better. At the end, we kind of come together and share what we learned. Do that numbers are better.
Yeah, I thought the difference was in birds of a feather. You're more freely encouraged to move from one group to another. You don't like competition, or you kind of do it?
Yeah, that's,
Open spaces, not so much. Like,
no, open space is the same way. If you don't like the conversation, just leave. And make a sigh or a huff or something as you leave.
Kick a
So
chair
they
over.
understand. Yeah. I think we should try voting for, like, if you're giving a presentation, somebody mentioned this at Midwest I/O, that if you don't like the presentation, you like, they get less time. So you have like real time voting. If you really like it, then you get more time.
So like a little clicker that's out. So you're gonna count that on time. It's like, oh, we're supposed to
Sounds like Quibids or something like that.
What was that?
Quibids, the betting website where the price keeps changing based upon time.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe we'll try that next time. We have no ideas.
Like what over there. So lost.
Hey, I'm Caleb. I'm one of the co-organizers of the Python KC meetup. I don't have any specific agenda, but I just want to mention that we've got multiple meetup organizers here, and also Python KC is always looking for space, so whoever works, hook us up. But really, just I come to both pretty regularly, and they don't conflict. Whereas like the Go meetup does. I don't know. If you have a question about Python, come ask me.
No, that's a good point. So yeah, anyone that has that, you can see me. So I work here. James works here, Jeff works here, Ollie works here. Eric works here. I work everywhere. So that's weird. curious.
Yeah, no, Python, man.
And yeah, so, and we gotta make sure developers,
So one big thing I say, this is the first time I've been here. This space is awesome. VML is super awesome. Like there's like just open spaces for like everybody. And it looks really creative. So we want to definitely thank our sponsor VML for the pizza and for the space here. This is super awesome. The other thing I heard about open spaces this morning, and I did them in DevOps Day Chicago, and one of the things they said is like, definitely vote with your feet. Like if it sucks, leave the group and go find another group that maybe doesn't suck as much because your time's valuable. But also know that like whoever is in the group that you're in is exactly the right people to be in that group to have that conversation, and whatever like gets discussed is exactly what was supposed to happen. So like you don't like hold any, you just go and try to get as much out of it as you can. So.
Jeff, what I think your developers.
You have another night? We'll run it right after. So we're going to do 3 on this deck, which was practice for us for DevOps days. So they're like back to back, and we may see hilarity ensue. There's like 4 slides in between, and it's going to be awesome. Dan's going to start it off, and then we're going to go to Dave, and then me, and then we're going to switch computers, go to Caleb, and we'll switch computers, go to you. Awesome. So unless anybody has other announcements, I think we'll just get talking about it.
Got things for lulls.
That's a one
Oh, I'm sorry.
Joe's indicating the code.
Okay. Horrible.
Okay. So DevSecOps is a crash course. Obviously, we'll go fast. There's 5 minutes. This is based off a bunch of research that I've done over the last several months, just trying to find more information. OWASP KC is a local meetup group. OWASP is probably international, I guess. Should know that, but at least national. I think it's international. They have a lot of good resources on their website, and their meetup was yesterday. So there's just kind of 2 different kinds of application security testing. One is the static application security testing. That can also be considered white box testing, and that's basically, this one is more of the black box testing. You have some paid versions like Ellis, Paracode does these things. This is something that you can also run on. So OWASP has 2 of them on there. They have a lot of other resources if you want more open source tools. So these are all open source. There's several frameworks that I've been looking at recently. This ties together a lot of these other tools to include things that do SQL injection and a lot of other hacky things that security people know about. I'm not a security person, by the way, so I'm just trying to figure out how to solve security problems for the security people. Gauntlet has several adapters for different security tools. Mitten uses Gherkin, so that you can have a lot of other people add to it. There's also Mozilla Observatory, which is something that just got released recently. I don't think it's been very long. And it provides analysis for your public-facing websites to make sure that they meet all the requirements. So, right, 1.5 million scans so far. Nearly all are rated F, something like 1.4 million. There's only, 7,000 at A+. So, if we're releasing all these vulnerabilities, it's not a great thing, especially as we get faster and faster and don't repair them. So, we need to secure our pipelines, your deployment pipeline in this case. And we'll use these tools not only for your source code, but you should also use them for Chef and things like that, Puppet, Ansible. And your infrastructure test can also be used in prod. So you can check live and make sure that your configuration hasn't drifted at all. For example, like Jenkins authentication So if authorization. If someone's not authorized to access something, you can test that regularly. 10-factor CI is something I just read about maybe this morning, I'm not sure, yesterday. So it's follows along with the 12-factor app, but it's for CI. So there's basically 10 of the 12 factors they've moved over, and they have a scorecard, which can be kind of helpful to track how well you're doing, and if you're improving or not. So taking that occasionally. So some takeaways: run your SaaS on every build. Those should be fairly quick. Your dynamic application security testing is going to take a little bit longer. So you should still run it for every build, but you should run it asynchronously so that you don't delay anything from deploying. You can go back and fix those things afterwards, and then run your dynamic tests in prod against your real systems, and follow the 10-factor CI guidelines, and be your security team's hero, because they'll really appreciate it when you solve all their problems in an automated way. They're pretty
I think your camera's a little out of focus.
annoyed with getting bugs in prod.
I don't know if it's like a smudge or
Quite
something.
awesome hacker. That's what's up with Sever's website on your website. Don't know anything about that. So that's it. So there's a bunch of resources there. Go look at them. Have fun. Somebody should probably come up here because they're going to have a presentation.
Thanks. Quickly speakers. So, a minute between?
Yep.
So I put these together last week, and got a lot of content here. Hopefully I won't talk too fast. And easy.
It'll be a full minute.
It'll be a full minute?
Yeah.
Anybody know a joke?
Why is 6 afraid of 7?
It's 7, 8, 9.
We got
We
one.
good? We're almost there.
A minute might be too long.
I promise there will be
He
no
was all
way
right?
to do these. I
all
did
right
practice.
now.
Okay, here we go. All right, so hi, my name is Dave Swirsky. I'm a software developer, enterprise architect, recently relocated from Cleveland, Ohio to Kansas City. And I've been working with DevOps for about 2 years now. I'm currently an IT consultant specializing in DevOps transformations, helping clients around the country with DevOps strategies. So I'd like to talk today about learning new skills. I've been on the learning new stuff treadmill a lot, many, many times. Buy a bunch of books, watch videos, sit through some webinars, we've all done it, study, and then after, in no time, you forget all of what you've learned, 99% of what you've learned, because you don't get to use those tools every day. So I decided eventually I was just doing it wrong. I decided to look at different ways to study. I knew I wanted to learn new tools, languages, frameworks, experience, to expand my knowledge base. Especially wanted to learn DevOps tools, because that's been the focus of my career for 2 years. So I'm not a DevOps engineer, I'm an architect. I don't anticipate using these tools every day, but I really need to understand how they work, be able to design DevOps solutions. I'm focused on what I call the big three: Docker, Jenkins, and Git. So I started my career as a software developer. So I started thinking about how I learned to write code, and I realized that doing real work was the way I learned to write code. So coming up with mock tasks to do DevOps work was hard and no fun at all. So then I remembered this one practice method with code katas. You probably heard of them. They're short, focused exercises. And I tried katas at software craftsmanship meetups, and I enjoyed it. But it's quick and easy. You don't have to worry about it. So I had my eureka moment. Why can't I combine the concept of code katas with DevOps tools? So you don't have to worry about producing something useful. You just want to focus on using the tool. So this is how my idea for DevOps katas was born. I started with Docker. Wrote up several katas, each focusing on different aspects of Docker: images, containers, networking, creating new images. When I finished developing a kata, it became part of my daily practice. So after practicing them now for about several weeks now, I can say it works better than I expected. I'm free from worrying about producing something. The katas are useful by themselves. I can run through my daily practice in about 30 minutes. Repetition was my missing element. That's how our brains are wired to learn new skills. So I'm currently in the process of developing katas for each of the big three. My goal is not to just learn them separately, but to learn how to combine them together to create DevOps release pipelines. I'm working on katas devoted to each tool, and then another series of katas to connect them together. The Docker katas will be command line katas that practice basic tool usage and reinforce the essential functions of containers. They provide practice with common commands, images, containers, running disconnected tank containers, and so forth, and creating new images. The Git katas will be another set of command line katas that practice the core Git commands. They'll be practiced with creating new repos, connecting to existing repos, branching, merging, pull requests, and more. And I include the Git in the big three because its merging capability makes it pretty much the de facto standard. The Jenkins katas will practice the use of the web-based interface for tasks like creating workspaces, setting up new master-slave pairs, creating build tasks for .NET, Java, JavaScript, and so forth. And I'll use Docker again here because I can use my own servers. You can see that the Docker features in both the Git and Jenkins katas. Katas are supposed to be short and sweet. Using Docker containers for Git and Jenkins servers, I can start from a known point with every kata without having to uninstall, reinstall, or do any setup. This is the first time I've presented on the idea of Docker katas, of DevOps katas, so I'd like to use you guys as guinea pigs. I'd like to share a couple of Docker katas I've developed and get feedback after the talk if you have any. Don't be bashful, I need honest feedback to make them useful. The first kata introduces the basics. So the first kata introduces basic commands like Docker run, Docker ps, Docker images. Each command has a little context around it to explain what's happening and what the command is for. We don't spend much time on theory here, the goal is practice. The kata can be run through in 2 minutes. The next kata demonstrates the idea of a disconnected container, one that's running in the background. The command is just enough to demonstrate the concept and nothing more. The remaining Docker katas focus on things like running web servers, creating new images, and creating Docker networks. So these katas won't get me certified. They're not a replacement for doing real work, but they will get me started in a way that's engaging, that I'll stick with because it's not a drag, and it will stick with me because I'm practicing them every day. I think katas can be applied beyond the big three, and I'm going to be developing more katas for other tools as well. So I'm working on an ebook called DevOps Katas Hands-on DevOps. The ebook will feature an overview of DevOps, a brief introduction to the big three, and a series of katas for each of them. There'll be a series of connector katas designed to combining the big three and create DevOps release pipelines. The DevOps katas ebook is under development, will be released sometime in 2017. I'd like to know, if you'd like to know when it's released, send me an email, dave@devopskatas.com. I'll have a website up soon as well with more information. So if you'd like to be notified when the book comes out, send me an email and I'll add you to the mailing list. Thanks for listening.
That's awesome. Good idea on printing off your notes. You're about to see a big wall of fail. I got like real long notes. I don't have a real long time, so. Another thank you to our sponsor, VML. Yes. Some more stuff.
Question.
He'll do his joke for you. I'll do it.
What do you do with the mosquito?
I
Nothing. You can't cross a vector.
What was this? Oh wait, here we go. Let's get it.
Oh, yes. My name is Aaron Blythe, and I've written Ruby code for the last several years. Mostly I use a text editor, however, I really like to set breakpoints in a GUI. So I want to take you through my recent journey. We'll repeat the joke at the end. Usually I use Sublime Text, but when I need to set breakpoints, I usually use RubyMine. The problem is that both of these require a license, one that my company's provided in the past, but I want something that's like open source. So for the last year, everyone's been telling me to use Atom, which is an awesome project. The problem is that I cannot use it to debug Ruby yet. As you can see from the README, this is currently a work in progress. It's not useful yet. Please don't tell me about how I should learn Vim or Emacs. If I am SSH onto a terminal on a Linux machine, then I've done something wrong, and Nano is all I really want to use anyways. So what have I been trying out lately? Is Visual Studio Code. Yeah, the one from Microsoft, here on my Mac. I know, right? It's completely open source, as there are many things that Microsoft has been doing. So for the first 5 years of my professional life, I wrote Visual C++ code in Visual Studio 6. Don't be. The language was aging even then, I used this until about 2007. It was even using the 98 C++ spec, and the IDE was fully functional. It had all the things that I need. So if you want to use Visual Studio Code, the new one, first you have to install the extension, which is rather easy in Visual Studio Code. You just type in ext install Ruby. Then you have to add a folder called .vscode and a file called launch.json in that folder. This will configure where the debugger will look for certain things. I simply started from the example for Ruby and then started working up from there. To get this working, I had to run bundle install with bin stubs and vendor, which is something I don't usually do because that pulls a bunch of extra things into your project. It also takes a bunch of extra time because it takes a while for that to run. So I also use RVM for over the last 6 years, and I don't intend on switching, no matter what anybody says. It allows me to wipe the slate clean much easier than anything else I've used. So I just use RVM implode, start over, and start building up my gem sets again. So I need to use that. So to be able to use that, I have to be able to set the bundler inside of VS Code, and this took me a couple of hours. Like, you can't just use the binary, you have to use the wrapper around it that comes directly with RVM. So what does that wrapper do? Well, we just cat that out, and we cat out the file it talks about, and basically it sources an environment that sets up your RVM installed as Ruby, so the one that I want to actually use, so that I can use bundler in the context of that Ruby. I added a comment out to the only issue on VS Code Ruby that I could find, which is already closed, but I figured that someone else might have a headache from this, so I wanted to help people out because I'm a community member, you know. But I wanted to confirm that I could actually get this working. So here you have the GUI, and I'm hitting a breakpoint in a simple Ruby program, complete with a call stack, variables, and watches, which is, in the past I could only pretty much do in RubyMine. I've tried a bunch of other tools, I can't get it to work. So what about Chef and Test Kitchen? Well, you can easily run kitchen verify, also setting things up in the launch.json, and I got inspect working too. It's fairly trivial to get working. But again, you have to run that bundle install with bin stubs and bundle install with Pathfinder, which is not natural for Chef and pulls in a whole bunch of files. It takes time, and it takes a bunch of extra space. But here you can see down at the bottom, I ran kitchen verify, it ran all of my tests that I pulled in from inspect, a bunch of them failed, got work to do, but I did it all inside of the thing. So the key here is I finally got a button to push to run kitchen verify, which was huge for me. So if you want to follow what I just showed you, it can be found here on github.com/AaronBlythe, my VS Code helpers, and you can check that out and push those into whatever project you're using. I plan to blog on this and post it in our Slack. The next thing I'm going to work on is at DockerCon this year, there was a keynote that showed you that you can use VS Code to attach to a running Docker container and live debug by setting breakpoints on a Node.js application. So I plan to do this for Sinatra. So I welcome these new Microsoft and all of their people. Apparently I'm not the only one. Here's Linus last week chilling with his buddies at the Microsoft. So, wowzers. Can we hear the joke now?
So guys, I got another one, but first let's just repeat the first joke. What do you get when you cross a mosquito with a mountain climber? Nothing. You can't cross a vector with a scalar.
That's a clever joke.
The next one. There are 16 types of people in the world. Those who don't understand hexadecimals, and that's the rest.
Oh, that's funny.
That's pretty awesome. I have the crazy idea to compile Docker Pandoc while I was sitting here, so that's cool. It's actually not stressing my computer out too much. Let's see if I can do this. One second. Oh, it's not. It's mirroring. Damn. I hate computers.
XKCD came up with a good one today for that. You guys see that one?
Oh, yeah, the NASA.
Yeah. Number of computers
I actually
created
practiced this at
over the
home
years.
like
Just
3
going
times.
Number of computers
today,
NASA
and
has
yet
hurled
I hate
into
computers.
planets like Jupiter and Sun, which is like very They're like,
Thank you.
NASA really needs to step
I
up
didn't
the game if
practice
they're going to
this
finish what they
because it
started.
just worked. And of course it's
I would love that.
That's fun.
all right. So I'm using Reveal.js. Which it turns out has an auto advance. Okay, sorry. So I've had this idea for a talk for a while that I figured would take like 30 or 40 minutes, but I figured what the heck, let's make it 5. In the late 1980s, the movie Max Headroom came out, and it featured Edison Carter, the news reporter, set in a dystopian near future. There's a lot of things like bad 80s haircuts and silly hairdos that I like about this movie, but in particular, the puzzles, the rebus that you saw on the last screen. This is a talk about complexity and the limits of control, how we deal with complex systems, and the tools we build to work with those systems. I want to talk about 3 types of complexity: domain, inherent, system complexity, the software we build, and social, the organizations we use to build and run those systems. Domain complexity is the inherent capability, the inherent model of the system, like a thunderhead that you see modeled in the background here. The domain requires this level of complexity. These are non-simple things and inherent complications. How do we deal with those? So I'm going to borrow a set of metaphors from different disciplines. From controls theory, there's observability and reachability. Can we reach the target state, and can we observe the internal variables? Is the system over-constrained and under-constrained, or under-constrained? Is it over-constrained in that you can't reach the optimal solution, or under-constrained in the sense that there are multiple possible valid solutions? From chemistry, you've got model accuracy, stoichiometry, and dimensional analysis. Do the equations balance on the left and the right side? Do the dimensions even make sense? So, what do you do when you model complex systems? You use simplifying metaphors. And the spherical cow is a joke from physics. It's maybe a joke about physicists that if you abstract the complexity away too much, you come up with a useless metaphor. So, besides the domain complexity, there's software complexity. The design that we build to account for that. It's a model, but it's only as simple as possible. From mechanical engineering, there's similitude. So if you can build a smaller model of an aircraft, it still has to have the same fluid dynamics as the actual object itself. In a dev environment, does a clustered system have only one node? That's not similitude. For mathematics, there's state space analysis. Rather than using observable and direct variables like dimension, there's a state space of derived variables. And Richard Cook has written a lot about failure conditions. And in his state space, he uses things like economic constraints and human error when they get under stress. Social complexity is how we organize and how we deal with organizations with a bunch of beasts trying to work together and trying to, just get along. So there's this really hilarious video from Atlassian that is kind of a joke about pair programming. They call it spoon, fork, knife. You spoon, you fork the code, and you insert it back in with the knife. But it's a really delicate and hilarious joke. But in reality, in social settings, how do you deal with failure and how do you deal with errors? Some of it's semantics. Mistakes are made. As Richard Nixon said, mistakes were made. From human factors, there's a seminal work called Design of Everyday Things, a book about things like door handles that don't tell you whether you should push or pull, which I'm sure you all, like I have, walked straight into. So, again, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes talk, but what are the commonalities here? What are the unifying abstractions that we can draw? Errors get made. There is inherent complexity. There are things we have to account for. And you know, what's a template you can apply? You've got a rebus, the puzzle. You've got a rubric or heuristic, like your model that you would apply, and you want to come up with a simplifying metaphor. So make models, make lots of models, let them fail fast, right? But use similitude to verify veracity and accuracy, use simulation to verify that it even works, and use other methods like static analysis and verifiability, and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much it. I just want to try to summarize it and say that this is a template, this is a rubric, or an approach that you might apply to any problem, any sort. The last thing is, First Robotics is this amazing organization I've volunteered for a couple of years in a row now. And they have this idea of gracious professionalism, which first is about teaching kids to use robotics, but in reality it's about doing social organization. My name is Caleb Hyde. I'm an engineer, a software developer. I geek out on things like Oculus, and I'm available for hire. Thanks.
What age group is the robotics club for? Middle school and high school, or middle school and high school also.
There's first Lego robotics, which is like the elementary. Yeah, that's a lot. My son does that.
My son goes to the first grade. The new generation, they switched like what the last year.
High school stuff is awful, but
They go watch the high school.
50 kids, they organize, they draw songs all year round. It's a big deal.
All right.
So my name is Jeff Sykes. I work here as the Director of Web Ops here at VML. And so I want to talk today is about marketing the value of Web Ops. So I work at a marketing company, and one of the things you have to do is you have to market back what you're doing to the organization. So intuitively, we sort of know that DevOps is good stuff, right? And it's better than a lot of the older approaches. And the problem that we run into is trying to find ways to take what we intuitively know and intuitively grasp and then express those in ways that other folks can understand. Organizations tend to want to know about the value that using various approaches will bring to the organizations. And so what we're trying to do is figure out how to bridge that gap between, the gap between what we intuitively understand, that this is a better approach, and then what the organization needs to understand so that it can make the change that you're doing. Because at the end of it, you know that what we're really trying to do is an organizational change, and that takes work. So one of the ways that I've found that does a pretty good job about marketing what we're doing here in terms of DevOps approaches is using math to talk about how much would it cost to replicate a DevOps approach with traditional work. So the general approach is if we do no DevOps, how many hours does it take? How many times do we do something with the DevOps execution times however much it costs for someone to do that work? That gives you a total. And then we also look at the DevOps approach where it's looking at the hours versus the roles. So don't forget time. That's one of the factors that we'll talk about a little bit more is just that in addition to the actual cost, hard costs associated with it, you have to think about how much time you can save doing that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go through two cases. The first is a problem. We had a long set of time for local development environments. The team in question was working on Oracle Web Center sites, which is a giant pile of flaming poo. And it took forever to set up the environments. So what we ended up looking at was, first of all, we were doing this without Vagrant. It took about 40 hours to set up an OpenWCS environment and get everything working the way it was supposed to. Each time a dev had to do that for a new branch, so we had 7 devs times that. You look at that, 1,400 hours, this dev rate is just made up, but then you get about that cost. Now, if we use Vagrant, it took us about 40 hours for one of the guys on my team to do this work. We took the time that it took a developer to set up an environment down to an hour. And so then if you look at that, I mean, it's pretty simple math to figure that out. So, able to look at a hard number here for how much we saved, plus 35 weeks of dev time, because they didn't spend weeks spending on new development environments that no one wanted to look at. Okay, so the second problem is we had frequent complicated software releases. This was for another client, and lots and lots of deployments and synchronization of S2 SVN servers and both code and content that we were moving around. So in that case, we did 4,767 deploys, synced SVN 5,196 times. We did 215 content packages. So we looked at about how many hours it would take to do that, and then again, just ballpark numbers here. So then, using DevOps methodologies, we worked together with developers and people on my team, and we came up with different solutions for this that we used Jenkins to automate all these tasks. We're going to look at exactly how much it costs us to send up the automation. And then if you look at the differences there, the numbers are pretty amazing. You can also do faster time to market, and then the sanity of the deployment team, because nobody's going to deploy 4,767 times, right? That's soul crushing. So a couple lessons. I think cost comparisons are really easy to sell. Someone may dispute some of the assumptions that are underlying what you're doing, but it makes a pretty start to get to why this is a good option for us. I think the other one is that you should show your work. I mean, the simple math that I was doing there, I'm not like a super math genius, but showing the math work, even if someone disputes your assumptions, everything is super simple to look at and say, well, that's a dumb assumption, you shouldn't have done that. And you can argue about those kinds of assumptions rather than whether or not it's a good idea. Also, don't forget your soft costs, don't forget time, don't forget the cost of doing errors and team morale for doing those kinds of approaches. And then finally, is to make sure that you emphasize the other advantages of your DevOps approach in terms of increased reliability, how much faster you can go, and then the compounding advantages that happen. Because the first time, obviously, you set up the automation, it takes a lot longer. Next time, a lot faster. And so then the advantages get better. And that's it.